gotta let your passion, yeah, you gotta let your passion drive you. If you're gonna have some passion behind what you're doing, then there's a pretty good chance you're gonna be unhappy with what you're doing. And so, yeah, you gotta follow your passion for sure.
Things of that nature, things of that nature, and you owe it to yourself. Oh.
What up, y'all? What up? What up? What up? Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it do, right? Left Coast Kings, Calgary's of the chef most of the time, Chef D, and along with my co-host, man, on that side. That's how
Dude, like Madnezz, Sweatshop Recordings, Demolition Men Productions, things of that nature. You owe it to yourself to tap in. We got a special one, y'all. Thanks, don't go nowhere, man. We got a live, good one for you, like we always do about this time.
Yo.
Welcome
What's
back,
good?
everybody. We got a special guest in the house today, like we said we always do about this time, man. Special interview. It looks like we got a gentleman. You want to go ahead and get the proper introductions, D?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. He is this gentleman is the president of the Humboldt Medical Eye Associates, CEO of Humboldt Eye Foundation, published researcher, community leader, and someone who's been putting in work for decades. We are honored to welcome the one and only Dr. Michael Mizoguchi. What's up?
Hi, man. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on, you guys.
Definitely.
Dr. Madnezz.
Thank you
Appreciate you guys.
coming on.
Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Likewise. Likewise. Well, the first part we're going to get started on, we're going to ease into this. We're going to do down some like roots, beginnings, basically what kind of got you into this, a little bit of your background. I know you got a extensive background reading over the information that you sent to us. So we're going to lead the stage to you basically and see how you wanted to go ahead and get this started. But basically give us a little background of growing up, family background, early influences, any type of childhood drive that got you into this industry.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it started pretty early for me. I was in kindergarten when my mom was in nursing school in Sacramento, and she would come home with her homework and projects from school. And I remember being with her and measuring the length of the small intestine of a fetal pig. And I took sheep brain and a cow eye to show and tell in kindergarten. I think much of the teachers shook her in, but I thought it was cool. So my interest in biology and stuff got established pretty early. Ironically, though, when I was graduating high school and thinking about what to do, I remember a conversation with my mom and my dad, and they're like, "Yeah, medicine's a long road. It takes many years. It's hard. You sacrifice your personal life to a large degree. The money's not really there anymore. Why don't you think about engineering?" I used to like taking the TV apart and putting it back together again. So like, this nation needs some good engineers. Why don't you consider that? And I decided to take that because it was kind of a daunting future with 12 years of education at least, and undergrad for engineers like 4 years, like 12 years is 4 years. All right, maybe I'll try that out. So I started in electrical engineering at USC, and I just wasn't prepared. I came from a poor community, and the high school I graduated from was underfunded, and they really didn't have much interest in educating kids and preparing them for college. So when I got there to undergrad, I was really behind the ball. And I remember having a conversation with my roommate in dorm, and I said, my professors keep drawing these weird squiggly lines, and I don't know what the hell those things are. And my roommate dorm goes, "You mean you don't know what an integral sign is? You're in the EE program here at USC. You don't even know what that is?" And I'm like, "No, man." And so he's like, "Oh, dude, man, you are in trouble." And so he kind of took it upon his wing to start teaching me math that I should have had in like junior high and high school. But it's, by that time I was drowning. And so like one semester I got like a 1.9 GPA. I was on academic probation, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm in danger of dropping out here. I'm just not ready for this." And So I thought, well, I better change my major to something that I can handle. And so I thought about all kinds of different things. I thought about architecture. I really liked film, but the SC film school was impossible to get into. I actually thought about literature, so I was kind of all over the place for a while. And then I thought, well, I need to also graduate in a short period, a reasonable period of time, and so I better stay within the School of Engineering, and so industrial and systems engineering I felt was the most human-oriented kind of engineering, because it's kind of a mix of business and engineering. It's about taking complex systems and figuring out how to make these different parts work together in the most economical, efficient, and effective way. And I thought, all right, well, this involves people, businesses. I'm down with that, because the EE is so abstract for me that I was struggling. And so I switched to industrial and systems engineering, got my shit together, got my grades back up. I was getting A's, and graduated, but I still didn't really feel like this was really my future. And so I ended up getting a job with a consulting firm. It was a branch of this big, what was called a Big Five accounting firm, but they had their management consulting arm of it, and that's what I joined. And I thought, well, this is a cool job. I'm right out of undergrad. I didn't want to be tied to any one particular employer, and it was appealing because I'd be able to jump around different clients, get in different situations, different parts of the country, and kind of mix it up a lot and do some traveling. So it was a good job. I got kind of pigeonholed into the aerospace and defense program industry, I think because of the engineering background. And so clients included projects with like Air Force, Lockheed, Northrop, the space shuttle with Rockwell, McDonnell Douglas Space Systems.
So I know Rockwell because my grandfather worked for Rockwell, and he's the guy that his wind tunnel was the one that installed the doors on the space shuttle Columbia, the first one. So,
no shit. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Right on.
So when you said Rockwell, I get juices. Reminds me of my old homie, my grandfather, man.
Right, man. That's sweet. Yeah, so I did that. It was a cool job, again, coming out of undergrad. Learned a lot, but I was still not quite feeling it. And so I thought, well, I always had this passion about biology and medicine. And one of my philosophies in life that I've developed is to walk the path of least regret. And I thought, if I don't at least go back to school and get my pre-med studies, and I didn't have any biology or chemistry, so I was going to have to start all over the freshman level. It's going to take a while. But I thought if I didn't at least try to do that, then it'd be something that would nag me and I'd think about and probably regret for the rest of my life not pursuing. So about the same time that was going on, I was making that decision making. I was on a project up at Boeing Aerospace in Seattle, and our project was to develop software that would take CAD/CAM designs on a computer, where a designer can design something on a computer, and our task was to take that design on the computer and translate it into what's called machine language, which a milling machine on the shop floor could take, and take that design that designer made on the computer and make it a real product on the shop floor using milling machines. And at that time, these materials, composites, were coming out that were stealthy. And so you'd have a block of carbon basically, and it's sort of the opposite of what became 3D printers now.
Right.
And instead of building up on this and producing something, we're taking a block and building it down and producing something.
Right.
So it's actually a challenging project, and I worked with some really smart people, and we made it work. The project was called a widget. They didn't tell us what we're really making this software for, but they could really make whatever the hell they wanted to with it. So that project ended. I was back in the Los Angeles office. I was kind of waiting for our next client, doing some education. I overheard some partners talking about that Boeing Aerospace project, so my ears kind of perked up, like, oh, okay, that was my project. And then they started talking about a stealth missile. And I'm like, stealth missile. Well, that's not a really defensive kind of weapon. That's more an offensive kind of weapon. And that would give us the capability of launching a strike on somebody. They wouldn't know where it came from, or the government could deny that it came from us. I'm like, oh, that's yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. So at the same time, as I mentioned, I was thinking about leaving anyway and pursuing my dream of becoming a doctor. And I'm like, all right, this is a sign. This is it. It's time.
Right.
So shortly after that, I had a meeting with my manager. It was a review, and I told her that I was going to leave the firm and move home and start undergrad again and take some classes and try to get into medical school. And she was like, "You're what?" She's like, "You mean you didn't get poached by a client? No, you're not going to a competing firm like Deloitte, Haskins & Sells or Price Waterhouse?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not defecting. I'm not getting poached." It's like, so she's like, "All right, well, let me talk to the partners. I'll get back to you." And a couple of days later, I got a phone call, and she said, "Hey, Michael, I talked with some partners, and we want to support you with this. We're really glad you're not going to a competing firm or you didn't get poached by one of the clients. We're going to keep you on payroll for a year." And I was like, "Whoa, all right, yeah." So that really launched me. I was able to concentrate on my studies. I didn't have to work to support myself at the same time. So that kind of streamlined things. That really helped a lot.
Awesome.
So I moved home. Yeah, I moved home to Sacramento, moved back in with my parents. I was like 25 at the time. Back in the room I grew up in, and went to Sac State and just started taking classes. It was hard to get my classes because I already had a bachelor's degree, so I was like the lowest person on the totem pole to get classes. And so I met with the professor there, Dr. Fish, and he was in the chemistry department. He said, "Yeah, well, you're right. You're never going to get to these classes you need." And he goes, "Tell you what, why don't you apply to the Graduate School of Chemistry? I'll get you in as a grad student." And I said, "I never had a chemistry class in my life." And it's like high school, and it's so-called chemistry. And he goes, no, you're not going to get a degree, obviously, but you'll have that status of a grad student. You'll get your undergraduate classes, and you'll be able to, get that done and apply. So I'm like, all right on, man. Sweet. Right. So did that, got in the grad school of chemistry, got my classes. It still took me about 3.5 years just to be able to apply to medical school. So I got to that point, and at that time, I don't know if you remember that show ER.
Oh yeah,
that was like the height of the popularity of ER.
Right.
And so fucking everyone was applying to medical school. It's like the highest numbers of applicants, like record numbers. I'm like, oh, great timing.
Yep. Leave it to Hollywood, right?
Right.
Yeah. And all of my pre-med and the second part of my undergraduate, I had straight A's, but that's first 2 years of like a 2.0, that dragged my ass down. And so I wasn't, from a GPA standpoint, I wasn't super competitive. And I knew that was going to be a possible barrier because I think I had like a 3.5, and most of the people getting in were like a 3.8 or higher. And I'm like, oh, shoot. So then there's this other part of the medical school applications called the MCAT, which is the entrance exam. Right. So I knew I had to ace that sucker if I had any chance in the world. So I went to this Stanley Kaplan prep course, and I exhausted their resources. I took every single practice test, every learning module. I didn't want to leave any stone unturned, and I didn't want to end up feeling like I didn't get into medical school because I didn't give it 100%. So I just totally dove into that. I ended up doing really well on it, and I got one of the parts of the application that the numbers are going to get me in, and it was still tough. I applied to over 40 schools and got interviews with 4 and got waitlisted on all 4. So I didn't get in. So I was actually in the process of thinking, oh man, I was a little dejected, but I felt like I had to keep trying. And so I was in the process of applying again for the following year. And 2 weeks before classes started, I got a phone call from USC, and they said, "Hey, we just got a spot open up. Do you want to come off the waiting list?" And I went through the roof. I was just so jacked. And I started jumping up, and I was so happy about that. And my dad was in the other room and he heard me going crazy, and he was on the phone with a buddy of his, and he goes, "Hold on, Mike's going ape shit over there. I'm going to find out what's going on." And so that springboard me. 2 weeks before classes started, I got into USC's medical school. And just really had the time of my life there. It's tough. One of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was really rewarding. I loved it. So
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So Thingsters, y'all got to see how effort and you really want it. You got to put that 100%, not 95, not 85, but 100, so that you can get where you trying to go. And like he said, you leave no regrets because you know you gave it all. So that's much respect.
You gotta let your passion. You gotta let your passion drive you.
Right.
You're gonna have some passion behind what you're doing, then there's a pretty good chance you're gonna be unhappy with what you're doing. And so you got to follow your passion for sure.
Definitely.
So at that time in med school, there is a perceived and still is a major shortage of primary care doctors, and so there was a big push in the medical school program to guide people into the primary care fields. And medicine's it's very personality driven about who goes into what fields. For example, like the orthopedic surgeons tend to be kind of the jocks. The touchy-feely fuzzy people like to go into pediatrics. It's kind of personality driven like that. And so family medicine was appealing to me because it is a way of seeing both adults and children. There is some opportunity to do some surgery on a certain level, and medicine as well. And so I thought, okay, I'm like-minded with these people. They like to consider like the patient's whole life experience and how that affects their health and their well-being. And I thought, okay, I kind of agree with that. I see where that's coming from. And so I started in family and community medicine. And I also wanted to kind of have a little bit of a direction about where I could do my residency, because it's kind of this match program where it's sort of a crapshoot about where you end up. And I wanted to stay in California. And so it wasn't a highly demanding residency to get into. So I got into UC Davis's, and it's one of the top programs in the country for family and community medicine, and got there and was in my internship year for that. And all the time while I was a pre-med student at Sac State, I was also doing research in ophthalmology and at UC Davis. And all through medical school, I also did research in a neuro-ophthalmology lab. And so I had all this exposure to ophthalmology because when I was with Anderson Consulting, when I was a consultant, I had my own eye problem and ended up having to have surgery on my right eye. And I used to come home from work and I'd go to the medical school library and I'd like flip open books and read about what's going on with my eye. And I thought that was fascinating. And so I had an early interest in ophthalmology that was driven by my own pathology and surgery that I had to have. But the folks at the medical school, kind of converted me to primary care. And I thought, okay, this is a cool thing to do. Ophthalmology is really competitive to get into. And I didn't know where I'd end up in the country. I didn't know if I'd even match in a residency program. And so I kind of wanted more of the sure thing. So that's why I went into family medicine at UC Davis.
Okay.
But about halfway through, I got a phone call.
Did you want to stay on the West Coast as far as residency, or did you?
For sure. Yeah. I had a serious girlfriend at the time who ended up becoming my wife, now ex-wife. And so I kind of wanted to stick around and be closer to her too. So yeah, I was kind of motivated to stay in California, West Coast. Yeah. So I got a phone call.
At this point in your career, how many changes has that been as far as like decisions that you said, hey, you know what, I'm going in this direction. Now I feel like I'm being pulled, or I have more passion to go in this direction. How many times at this point of where you're at have you made those decisions?
So I think that was 4. So first is electrical engineering, and then industrial and systems engineering, and then medicine, and family and community medicine.
Okay.
In particular. Yeah. So then I got a phone call, and it's from the retina specialist professor I did research with as an undergrad. And he said, "Hey, Michael, guess what? Our work got published. We're going to get that out." And he was congratulating me on getting into UC Davis for the family medicine programs, one of the best in the country, blah, blah, blah. And I said, "Well, Dr. Morris, I kind of miss ophthalmology." And he paused for a moment and he said, "Well, we just went from a 2 resident a year to 3 resident a year program, and we're kind of backfilling the first year. And ophthalmology residencies start after internship. They don't start like immediately after medical school." Okay. And so those folks have to do an internship in either a medical or a surgical field, and then they start subspecializing into ophthalmology. And so he said, "Well, the applications just closed, but let me talk to the chair of the department and we'll see if we can accept your application late, and we'll take it from there." So the chair of the department at UC Davis for ophthalmology, his name was John Keltner, and he was a well-known neuro-ophthalmologist. And as I mentioned, I was in a neuro-ophthalmology lab at USC, and the principal investigator I worked with, his name is Alfredo Sadoun. He's got an interesting story that if we have time I could share about solving the Cuban blindness epidemic that occurred in the early 90s. Wow. As an interesting story. Yeah, he became a little bit of a celebrity because of that. So I'm sure that Dr. Kellner talked to Dr. Sadoun and said, "Hey, who is this Mizoguchi kid?" and put in a good word for me, and they accepted my application. And they allowed me an interview at the Department of Ophthalmology there at UC Davis. So I was in a rotation that was a medical ICU rotation, and it was a tough rotation. It was intense. And the senior resident I was working under, I told him that, "Hey, I got to get this day off to do these interviews because I'm going to interview over the Department of Ophthalmology and think about switching." And he says, "No." What the fuck? What do you mean no? It's my rest of my life. This is like, it could be the most important day of my life. He's like, "Dude, no, man. We got so much work. How's this gonna happen?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, you gotta be freaking kidding me." And so finally he kind of came around. He goes, "All right, you got the afternoon to go on the interviews, but you got to come back after you're done and get the shit done." And so I'm like, "All right, man." And MICU, it was like ass kicker. I mean, it wasn't as tough as trauma surgery. Trauma surgery was like, that was 36 on, 12 off for like 2 months. But right. MICU was, and that's before there are laws to prevent people from working so many straight hours.
Right.
Yeah. But I remember being on the call in MICU and sitting there at 4 a.m, trying to do these calculations to figure out how much sodium to replace in a patient who is what's called hyponatremic, meaning the sodium levels are really down, which is a life-threatening situation. In the ICU, I got to figure out how much you give them. You can't overdo it, you can't underdo it.
Right.
And I was like struggling with these calculations because I was so exhausted. And I was kind of I don't get pissed off very much, but I was getting kind of pissed off. And like, it's not right that I'm in a situation where I'm so fatigued, I'm struggling with these calculations that are really critical for this patient. So MIC was a tough rotation. So that's kind of where he's coming from. I kind of get it. We're all burned out and stuff. But he let me go to the interview, and the interviews were an experience. There were 2 rooms, and in those 2 rooms, the entire faculty and all the residents in the program were divided between these 2 rooms and these long tables. And you come in the room, you sit down at the head of the table, and then they just start firing questions at you for about an hour and a half. And then you go to the other room, they do the same thing. And so, yeah, there was, so I remember one of the last question I got was from a resident, and she was a first-year resident in ophthalmology, Denise Kaiser. And she says, "Hey, Michael, you've been in your internship year here at UC Davis. What was the most profound experience you've had so far in your internship year? What's moved you the most, or what do you think is the most important thing that's happened so far?" And I thought for a moment, but I knew what I was going to talk about, because in my very first rotation, I was on a internal medicine rotation at Kaiser in Sacramento, and I had this patient. His name is Mr. Ellison, and he had surgery on his heart. and he was telling me that his family was really dead against us having this surgery, but he went against his family's wishes and had this surgery. And he wasn't doing too well afterwards. And we had several heartfelt conversations. And, I told him, look, Mr. Allison, you can't beat yourself up over this decision because, even though your family didn't want you to do it, your decision was made out of love for your family, and you wanted to be there for them and be with them longer. And that's a hard thing to fault yourself over. But he's really down on himself, and we had a lot of conversations about that. He ended up worsening, and it just so happened that I had followed him to the ICU, and clearly he was tanking. And I was on call one night, got a call about it's about 3:30 or 4 in the morning, got out of the call room and went to go see him. And sure enough, he was kind of in the stages of dying. And so I got there, and by this time he was out of the ICU and then kind of stepped down, and looked at his monitors, and I held his hand, and I came up to his ear, and I said, it's Mr. Ellison, I'm here. And as soon as I said that, things changed. He started going to what's called agonal breathing, which is where you stop breathing, but then you get these spasms of the diaphragm that kind of make you gasp, and it's kind of the body's reflex to stay alive when it's dying. And I saw his EKG flatline, and he waited. He people don't want to die alone.
Right.
And even when people are unconscious or in a coma, when we're sleeping, the one sense that still works when we're sleeping is our auditory.
Yeah.
That's why we wake up when the alarm goes off.
It's off, right?
Because that's always on. And so I've had a few experiences where people were unresponsive, but if you talk to them, they could be hearing what's going on in the room.
Right.
So I always assume that even if they're gorked in the ICU, that they can kind of hear what's going on. I always kind of treat them like that.
Right.
And I had a buddy, my first associate and my first partner in practice up here was in a car accident. He was in a coma, and just before they were going to take him off life support and harvest his organs, I held his hand and talked to him too. And my ex-wife and I were there, and we saw a tear come down. I'm like, did you see that? I'm like, yeah. And so I'm a believer that people can hear what you're saying, even if they're unresponsive. So I talked about that, and I looked around the table at the interview, and there wasn't a dry eye at the table. And afterwards, I got in. And yeah. So years later, Denise Kaiser.
I don't want to stop you. Can I?
Yeah, sure.
Can I interrupt real quick? Not to be rude or nothing, but we got to go to a quick little break, and then we're gonna come back and finish the rest of this conversation. Y'all don't go nowhere. We'll be back with the doc.
All right.
So, as we were discussing, after this interview, and not a dry eye in the building.
Yeah. So the resident who asked me that question, Denise Kaiser, she became a retina specialist and was practicing in Santa Rosa, and would come up and visit our practice every once in a while. And we had lunch or dinner one night, and she said, "Hey, Michael, do you remember when you were interviewing for residency and I asked you that question? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, let me tell you what happened after that. And she said, everyone was really moved about that story you related to us. And more so, everybody was completely astounded that Dr. Morse was showing emotion and shed a tear. And Dr. Morse was the retina specialist I'd done research with as an undergrad when I was at Sac State, when I was a pre-med. And I knew where she was coming from because Dr. Morse was kind of a bit of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of personality. He's the nicest guy when you talk to him outside the OR, but when you go in the OR with him, Mr. Hyde comes out, and that dude was intense and just, man, he was he was an asshole. Oh my God, he's like a drill sergeant. The retina fellows would be sitting there at the microscope operating, and he would be in their ear going, "Jerry, what the hell are you doing?" Just chewing their asses out the entire time that they're trying to operate. And how
can you focus like that?
No, man, it was awful. It was awful. I felt so bad for his retina fellows that were training under him. And the guy who was there when I was a resident, his name is David Hauser, and he just got so much shit the entire time from him. When he graduated, he got up to the podium, and David was Israeli, and there was all kinds of bad shit going on even back then in Israel. And he goes, "Well, I'm going back to Israel. It's really unstable there. There's a lot of violence going on. But I am not afraid because I am ready. I have been prepared for anything that life throws at me at this point. Dr. Morse, thank you. I'm ready to go back into a war zone."
Got him ready. Yep.
At least it wasn't like a big F you to him, right? He could have been like, "Yeah, the hell with you, right?"
Yeah.
At least it was respected at the end of the day, right? All his madness, right?
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So that was the last career move for me. It was into ophthalmology. Got into the ophthalmology program, and the rest is kind of history. Yeah. I thought I'd go into academic medicine because I really like the research, I like the teaching, and I like the clinical aspect of taking care of patients as well. And academic medicine kind of provided all that. But I decided against that because I foresaw that a life in academics would be really just a life of academics, and there wouldn't be any room for personal life. I wanted to have a family and be part of their lives too. And so I decided to go into private practice instead. Okay. And I used to vacation up in Big Lagoon here in Humboldt County. And two of my buddies who I went to high school with, one was his girlfriend's family owned a little cabin in Big Lagoon, and her best friend was my other best buddy's girlfriend. And so we'd all kind of meet up on vacations, and we'd go to this little cabin in Big Lagoon. I thought, wow, this place is amazing. And so I got to know her family, and they said, yeah, whenever it's open, come on up. You can stay in the cabin if you want, and just fell in love with this area and thought, well, I'll retire up here someday. And then when I decided to go into private practice, I thought, well, what's a better place to practice and build your career than where you like to vacation the most? And so I was up in the cabin, and then at that time, it's a phone book. I flipped open the phone book and wrote down the names of all the ophthalmologists in the area, wrote them a cold letter and said, yeah, I'm still in training. I got a few more years to go, but if anything opens up, let me know. And sure enough, George Ingraham was up here, and he'd been looking to retire for a couple of years at that point, and wrote me back and said, yeah, well, if you're really serious about that, I'll wait for you. And I came up here and interviewed, and it was a couple of years later, and then sort of the rest is history. I've been up here, came up here after my residency, and I've been practicing up here ever since.
It's the greatest. It's the best place in California, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely serene. I'll tell you that much. So you can actually get your thought to yourself and enjoy the natures of life. Get out the big, especially you being down in Sacramento. You mentioned Sacramento, LA, those big cities, man. So I'm sure you like it up there where you get a little bit more of that calming tone, and the weather's a lot greater and cleaner air up there, right?
That's right. There is fantastic. Yeah. I like the bigger cities when I was younger, though.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay, we
at
did
that point in
too.
my life, though.
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah, it was
What part
fun.
of Sacramento did you grow up in? Because I used to live out there for a little bit.
Oh yeah, West Sacramento,
West
wrong side of the
Sacramento?
river.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to. I lived a year in West Sac, and then like 4 or 5
yeah?
years in South Sac off of Mac.
No kidding.
Valley Road. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
Sac was my home for a while after the military. Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Right.
So
Small
yeah.
world.
So living in the inner cities, and then you finally come out here. You're like, man, this
Yeah.
is just so different.
Yeah.
Yet so
Right,
amazing at the same time. So trying to get Doc Madnezz to come visit me, man.
I'm on my way.
He on his way. He on his way. We
my
got. Yeah, this is a. He's a busy man, Michael. Extremely busy man.
I'm on my way, definitely, man. I need the break.
You do. You really do. He really does. He needs to
Right?
get away.
I got
Yeah, come on up.
I will, and I'm definitely going to tap in. Just a quick question for you, Doc. Let's talk a little bit about community, the Humboldt County, basically what you're doing up there. I know it said here in your CV that you sent over to us that you are very active into one of the what is the programs that you run up there? Behooves me right now, but I know you
that's right.
like 2002, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit of background on what that does and the
Absolutely.
activity?
Yeah. Well, the medical community in general up here has really changed quite a bit since I've been up here. When I first got up to Humboldt, there were 9 ophthalmologists between just Eureka and Crescent City, and come end of the year, we're going to be down to just myself and my associate, so 2 of us.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's changed a lot. So in a couple months, we're going to be covering an area from Santa Rosa to Medford to Reading. It's going to be this huge geographic area. Yeah. So it's changed a lot. We've been really the community, not just from a practice standpoint, but also before COVID, we were providing free eye clinics once a month. And what we were doing, we met with Betty Chin, who is this amazing resource here in Humboldt County. She got a Presidential Freedom Medallion from Obama during his time, and she's really done a lot of work for the homeless and the indigent, and provides housing for them, programs to get them back on their feet. So I met with her, and we devised a program where she would find people who were in need of eye care, and she would take her van and go around and pick them up and then take them to our office. And then in our waiting area in the office, we had Social Security, we had the Medi-Cal station where people would sign up for that, food stamps. We had kind of all the services and tables set up in our waiting room. So while they're waiting to be seen by us, they could get plugged into the system. And that was a really good program.
That's not it. That's everything. That ain't just it, man. Salute to that.
One-stop shop.
Everything that you guys been doing over there with that, because that's huge. You said you realized definitely a need for the community, and you stepped up. You and your colleagues stepped up and made it happen and started at least providing some type of services for them. And not only did you do that, you brought other services in, like Dee said, to make it a one-stop to where you don't have to go anywhere. We know that you might need this. This is available for you to sign up, information to bring more knowledge and awareness to it. So salute to you guys for that. Big ups to that, man. I really like hearing a lot of things like that. So not only you going, not only you considering your own self-awareness of your career path, but you're also looking at the community around you, and you're in a place where you can do something about it. So, top of the hats to you to that, definitely.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. It was a really rewarding thing. The staff was really into it. Other patients were into it. I had a patient who would bring over a whole ice chest full of burritos for everybody. My kids got involved. Yeah, it was a really great program. Unfortunately, COVID ended up derailing that for a while, and we're just kind of getting our gears going again to restart this program. At the same time, we recently created a foundation called the Humboldt Eye Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization, and we're going to be doing both international and domestic missions to provide cataract surgery for people who otherwise couldn't afford it. So we're planning on a trip to this place called Tunga in the Philippines in January, and Dr. Mustafa Safi, and I are going to lead a team with some staff members and go out to this remote area in the Philippines, and hopefully do we're thinking between 50 and 70 cataracts over there over about a week period. That'll be our inaugural trip.
Okay.
And then we're also thinking about other places internationally as well as domestically.
What made you choose that location out of all the places? I'm sure there's dozens and dozens that we don't know about, but what made you narrow it down to pick that as your inaugural, to make this jump off and say, hey, this should be our first get down?
Yeah, it was my associate, Dr. Safi, and he had a teacher in high school that he was learning Tagalog from, and he recalled from his high school years that his teacher said, hey, if you ever want to visit the Philippines, let me know. And now, 20 years later, he out of the blue called his teacher up and said, hey, do you remember this conversation? And his teacher said, yeah. And he goes, well, I can take you up on that. And he said, okay, let's go. And they were talking. They said, look, we're interested in starting cataract surgery internationally and take it to people who are in need of this. And can you take me to a place that you think is going to be in great need of some services like this? And he said, yeah, let's go over there. They went over there about a year ago and started kind of scouting things out, talking to local government officials, healthcare providers, and started formulating a game plan. And that's kind of how it all started. It was this memory of a teacher having a conversation with him when he was in high school.
See how networking,
right? Networking, and
over the past opportunities, right?
I don't heard
keeping relationships with people. You know what I mean? Over the years,
yeah,
awesome.
For sure.
And not only that, another thing that I'm hearing a lot of is that in this journey that you've had, there's been people that's been in your life to be able to give you some guidance, mold you a little bit in this direction, that direction, inspire. And I think that's what a lot of is missing now, because those, like you said, you're a teacher. 20 years later, you have a student contacting the teacher saying, hey, I'm gonna take you up on an offer. I don't think that's going on much now. You know what I mean? So when we look at it and the way things have evolved and in some ways digressed, but at the same token, the resilience that you put forth, like Dee was talking about, hey, if you have passion, there's no stopping. So when you said the COVID knocked that program off, there was no doubt in my mind you were going to find a way to get something started back up to give back to the community, because that's been the journey since, you started this journey and talking about it. It's one step, next step, an obstacle here. Like you said, it was, you had mentioned how hard it was to get into the graduate school and, medical school and all this kind of stuff, but it didn't deter you. And I think that is something that I want these youngsters and the Thingsters and anybody who's even thinking about, like, man, let me make a change. And you're giving a lot of good points to nudge that person into doing it. Because I don't think we get enough people to encourage that. It's like, hey, well, you have something that's going good, just stick with it, versus taking something out of passion. Hey, have you ever wanted to do that? Use this as a stepping stone. Let that catapult you and to getting with the like minds around you. So I definitely resonate, and I hope there's more people that listen to this and resonate from your story and journey along the ways. And I know there's so much more. You're probably just skimming over the top. It's articulate about what you do. You must do a lot of interviews.
Oh, not a lot. No, not really.
Or you're talking about it, at least not maybe it could be like at a function or an event. Maybe you do a lot of that because you articulate yourself very well. So.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. I guess presentations, medical science presentations, and things. Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, hey, everybody out there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to get those alerts. Things of that nature, you owe it to yourself. Come on now.
Stay tapped in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned people who inspire, and one of the persons who really inspired me was the professor I mentioned, Alfredo Sadun, who's the neuro-ophthalmologist at USC when I was in medical school. And he, when I joined his lab in freshman year of medical school, was '94, and he had just kind of come off this journey where back in 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, Cuba was suffering because they were no longer being subsidized by the Soviet Union. And so they were having a hard time over there. And there was this epidemic that started occurring where about over 20,000 Cubans, mostly males, were going blind. And over 50,000 Cubans were losing their sight. And Fidel Castro at the time thought, well, maybe this is a CIA plot, and there's the U.S. is planting something in our country that's making all of our mostly young men going blind. And so he had a team of about Castro had a team of about 1,000 scientists trying to figure out what was going on at the time, and they were coming up. They couldn't figure it out. And so he opened it up to international teams. And there was a team, I think, from Italy that was purporting a viral cause of the blindness. And then other teams were like, well, no, it doesn't really make sense because their white cell count, there's no indication of a viral infection that's going on with this. So he invited, much to his credit, he invited a team from the US, even though he is distrusting the US and thought it was coming from the US. And Alfredo led that team. And so Alfredo he's really brilliant. He came over there with a ophthalmic technician, like nurse, who came over with him, and he said, look, you're not going to go over there and really help out with the clinical stuff. Here's your job. You're going to just hang out in the waiting room to see people and talk to them and see what's going on in their lives, right? Mm-hmm. And so they go over there, they're examining all these people, and they have an optic neuropathy, which is where the optic nerve, the cable between the eye and the brain, starts losing its nerve fibers. There's about 1.1 million nerve fibers between the eye and the brain, and these people their optic nerves were dying. And so this is right up his alley. He's a neuro-ophthalmologist. That's kind of his specialty. And so he figured out that, no, this isn't a viral cause. There's something else going on here. And the nurse said, oh, well, what's going on? The one common thread among most of these people, almost all of them, is that they're making their own rum. They're moonshining. And, Cuba is known for their rum, but since their economy was so decimated from the fall of the Soviet Union, all of their rum was getting exported. They needed that income, so the locals, Cubans, they didn't have access to their own rum. And so they were making their own rum up in the hills.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you moonshine, one of the products of fermenting is that you can end up with methanol instead of ethanol. Ethanol is what is in our drinks, but methanol is poisonous. And one of the products of methanol is formate, and formate is toxic to these nerves. And in particular, it uncouples the ability to make energy in the cells. And energy in the cells are produced by these little organelles called mitochondria. Mm-hmm. And mitochondria are interesting little things. So these are little buggers that used to live on their own and be their own organism and cell. And somewhere way back in time, an eukaryotic cell, which is like an animal cell that has this nucleus confined in the cell, enveloped one of these mitochondria and inside of it, and said, hey, this is kind of a good thing. You're making energy. You're really good at making energy. And the mitochondria is like, oh, you're protecting me. Yeah, I like it in here. Right. And so there's this symbiotic relationship, and now every cell in our body has these other organisms inside of them that are producing energy for a cell. It's called mitochondria. So the mitochondria, they have their own DNA that's separate from our DNA. You know, these little organisms inside every one of our cells, they have their own unique DNA. That doesn't show up when we're looking at our own DNA and that was passed on. But these organelles in mitochondria, they're passed on by our mothers because the female egg has all the stuff in there, and the sperm is just genetic material with a tail to get it in the egg, and there's nothing else there. We're not contributing a heck of a lot except for that genetic material. But the mother, so every single mitochondria and every single one of our cells comes from our mother, and so that's how it's passed on. Right. So there are these groups of diseases that are related to mitochondrial DNA mutations, not our DNA, the mitochondrial DNA mutations. And so it was one of those diseases related to the mitochondrial DNA mutation that I was helping Alfredo study when I was in medical school. So getting back to the Cuban thing, the formate uncouples the metabolic pathway that produces the ATP energy in the mitochondria. So these cells were not able to function because they were not producing energy, and then the cell started dying. And there wasn't probably enough from the moonshine to cause these problems, but going back to the famine that was going on in that country from the collapse of the Soviet Union, these people were starving. So they didn't have a lot of meat in their diet. They didn't have a lot of green leafy vegetables, which is where the B vitamins come in from. And the B vitamins, folic acid in particular, detoxifies the formate in our bodies. And so when we're lacking the B vitamins, it can't detoxify the formate that's a product of the methanol. And so when these people had an overload of methanol and formate, and a dietary deficiency, they couldn't overcome that, and that's why these people are going blind.
Oh my goodness!
So, yeah. So Alfredo had to convince Fidel Castro of this issue, and so he presented to Fidel, and he was really concerned that he's going to be defensive because it's kind of a shortcoming of his leadership and government to be able to feed his own people. But, you know, Fidel is, unbeknownst to a lot of people, he was a really brilliant man.
Yes, he was.
He was super, super smart, and he really cared about his people.
Yes.
Much to the common perception of the people in the United States. He really cares.
Yeah.
So
that's how we perceive most people, though. That's how the U.S. projects other leaders.
Right.
So they don't, it may be a dictatorship, but because they don't care when they truly do. They do care about their people and their country. Yeah.
Right. Or leaders in the Banana Republic are idiots.
Sure. Right.
This man was brilliant. So brilliant. Like, he really actually caught Alfredo off guard, because when he was given his little presentation, he noticed that Fidel kept looking at him and looking at his chest and looking at him, looking at his chest, and seemed preoccupied. And at the end of his presentation, Fidel said, "What's that in your pocket?" And he reached down, he looked in his pocket, and he had this pair of glasses that Alfredo had patented, which is it's kind of polarized, and it has a circular thing that you can rotate, and depending on how much you rotate it, it'll block certain kinds of light. And there are these markings that are linear on the top that showed how much you're blocking out the light. And he asked Alfredo to show him these glasses. He goes, He goes, "Well, I noticed that it's a dial, but the markings up here are linear." And Alfredo said, "Yeah." And he goes, "No, that's not, that's not making a lot of sense there. In order for that linear scale to be correlated to that dialing of the round circle, you got to take cosine squared alpha." And Alfredo is like, "Whoa, this is brilliant. Right?
Like, what do you know about this, right?" Like,
even Alfredo didn't figure that. He had to consult his brother, who's a mathematician, to figure out, okay, how do we make the scale work with what I'm doing here? But Castro, immediately, this is how that's got to work.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
brilliant
wow.
dude.
Awesome.
Brilliant dude. Yeah.
Awesome.
So he instantly, showed his brilliance just in that one little statement. And then he went back to the presentation and goes, okay, this makes sense. And so they were getting ready to pack up and leave the next day because they kind of felt like, okay, they solved the problem. And they said, well, we're due to leave tomorrow. And Fidel was like, no, I think my airport might be closed tomorrow, and maybe for a little while. And they started shitting pants. Because like, oh shit, how long are we gonna be stranded here? We're gonna be held prisoner. He goes, now you need to figure out how to fix it. Now that we know what the problem is, we gotta figure out how to get this back. And and so he was thinking, oh great, because common conventional wisdom is that once we lose these nerve fibers, they don't come back. And so no matter what they're going to do, it's pretty likely these people are still going to be blind, and we can at best keep other people from going blind. And they weren't sure how satisfactory that was going to be with the Mr. President. So he closed the airport and said, you guys got to hang around and figure out how to fix this. And so that's when they kind of worked out the whole formate thing, the mitochondria, the B vitamin deficiencies because of the diets. They started looking at B vitamin levels in people and figured out, okay, next presentation to Fidel was regarding how to fix the problem. And similar thing, they felt like, okay, this could go a couple of different ways. He could be really pissed because it's going to kind of expose the shortcomings of his leadership because his people are starving. And he may get really pissed about this and just blow it up. And it could go that way. We don't know how it's going to go. So somehow we got to get this on track with him. And so Alfredo started off just by some banter with him and said, Mr. President, you took over this country at a very young age, at a young age of 30, 31 or 33 or something like that. He was really young when he took over the reins of that country. And Fidel said, yeah, you're right. And he goes, I was immature. And, I'm a different man now. Back then, I admit, no leader should be that young and lead a country. And he related a story that nobody in the West knew about. And after the failed U.S. invasion, the Bay of Pigs invasion in the 60s, I think that was, early 60s, Nikita Khrushchev was sending over nuclear weapons to Cuba to point them at the U.S. And that's when John F. Kennedy did the whole embargo and blocked the ships from coming into Cuba and that whole standoff. And Castro was relating the story of how that all happened. And he said, yeah, I made this deal with Khrushchev. And I said, the only way I'm going to accept nuclear weapons in my country to aim at the U.S. was if we both have the codes to launch them. And so Khrushchev said, okay, fine, we'll do that. And so they sent over the nuclear weapons, they got them set up. And the U.S., up until that point, thought that the weapons that Cuba got from Russia were nuclear capable, but not actually nuclear armed and ready.
Oh.
Yeah. But Castro said, oh yeah, they were ready. And when JFK blocked the ships coming in from Russia for supplies as an embargo because of the nuclear, what they thought was just capable weapons in Cuba aimed at the United States, Fidel said he got really pissed off and he pressed the button. But he said, but they didn't go off. Right. And he said, Khrushchev double-crossed me.
Oh.
Because Khrushchev knew that this 33-year-old leader of this country is not reliable to start World War III.
Oh, y'all want to play?
Right, man. He actually pressed the button. Damn. And so everyone's kind of like in shock going, oh my God. And he says, so that's why I'm a firm believer. Castro was like, that's why I'm a firm believer that there should not be any leader of a country with that kind of capability at that age.
At that age,
he was confessing that is fucking crazy.
Hell yeah,
you know, that would, man. Yeah.
So that's crazy. That's
so they talked about that. And then Alfredo brought up the 16th century leader under Henry VIII, who wrote this book called Utopia, and asked Castro what he thought about his idea of utopia. And because dictators, they're trying to create a utopia in their country. They want total control. They want to try to make it as best as they can in their eyes. And so Castro knew this, and he goes, "Oh yeah, Thomas More, wrote that book," and threw it back at Alfredo and said, "What do you think about More's idea of labor?" And Alfredo said, "Well, I know that he was of the idea that everybody in the country should put their work into labor, and everybody should share in their fruits of their labor." And he then said, "All right, well," Castro said, "Well, how do you think that contrasts to Plato?" And so Alfredo's like, "Man, this guy knows his shit." Right. So he goes, "Well, Plato felt like certain people should be exempt from labor, like the civil government people and artists. There are certain people who should be exempt from labor, and that's really the difference between those two." And he goes, "Right." And he goes, "And do you know what do you know of the physical description of utopia that Thomas More wrote about?" And Alfredo immediately knew where he's coming from. He goes, "Yes. Well, it would be an island about 100 miles by 200 miles in the middle of the Caribbean." And that was Cuba, right? And so they both started laughing. And so that kind of set the stage for him saying, "Okay, let's get back to business. Here's what we think needs to happen." And, we need to immediately get a campaign where we need to get B vitamins out to your entire population. And Castro sat back and he thought about it and goes, "Yeah, okay, we can do that. Let me talk to my buddy in Spain and we can get some B vitamins, and we're going to turn the pharmaceutical factories in our country to turn all their attention to producing B vitamins, folic acid." Yep. And so we did that, and most of the over 20,000 Cuban males regained their eyesight. And so that solved it. Yeah. So they became great friends, and I was the benefit of that in a way, in that Castro would occasionally give Alfredo a big box of Cuban cigars. and Alfredo would bring that in the lab, and we're like, "All right, we're gonna get Cuban cigars." Everyone's like smoking cigars in the lab, and it's pretty cool.
That's what's up.
Awesome, man. That's a great definitely. See, that wasn't all bad, you guys. Stop listening to the tabloid. They show these other countries and leaderships and their styles just because we don't agree with it as a Western philosophy type. That doesn't make it negative and wrong. So don't always listen. Go do your own research. Pick up some books if they're still easy to find. If not, use the internet. And tap into people, man, because conversations like this, it makes things come out. So let's have dialogue with actual people, rub elbows, and that's how things get passed down and the word of mouth where they can't stop. So just keep that in mind. We're about to take a quick break, you guys. And we're going to come back. When we come back, we're going to want to get into some reflection and advice from the doctor himself and move forward. So stay tuned. You owe it to yourself to stay tapped in. And we'll be right back, y'all.
Things of that nature, and you owe it to yourself. Oh,
in the car,
Yeah,
Bad music, Bernie one, like, hey, I'm on my way. It don't even matter. I'll make it to
especially when
work.
the studio was there, bro.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm on my grown man, talking everything I do. Glass tip the blunt, ain't sipping on the Fresca too. DMP's the crew, LA Clipper hat and hoodie too. Double SR since day one, my whole catalog's the proof. Been doing what I wanna do, rock what I want to. Stop that I won't do, pop back on Pro Tools. Body in the paint, NBA like it old school. Pomona bread, north side of jumping out the old school. On D's with B's and C's, OGs roll through. R.I.P. Big Steve and my dukes, I miss and love you. My little twos turned into foes, watching my every move. Swerving in and out of them lanes, making them Cali moves. 14 grams, blast off, send you to the moon. Head bang to this, turn it up and let them speakers boom. 6'2", clear the room, battle scars and war wounds. Front lining with my goons, Red Lotus, choking on them brake lights. Choking on some get it right. Floating on that E-way, painting that picture right. I get a call from the homie like, schedule and book the flight. Pedal punching on that throttle tight. Soft legs by my side, I'm on my own, just doing fine. Living life in my rear view. Blow a bag for the pain, I can't feel you. Black hearts and red eyes and stay true. 6 in the morning, early hustle, gotta pay dues. Yeah, yeah. Living life in my rear view. Blow a bag for the pain, I can't feel you. Black hearts and red eyes and stay true. 6 in the morning, early hustle, gotta pay. Choking on them brake lights. Choking on some get it right. Floating on that E-way, painting that picture right. I get a call from the homie like, schedule and book the flight. Pedal punching on that throttle tight. Soft legs by my side, I'm on my own, just doing fine. Living life in my rear view. Blow a bag for the pain, I can't feel you. Black hearts and red eyes and stay true. 6 in the morning, early hustle, gotta pay dues. Yeah, yeah. Winding day and night. Got that music on my mind. Ooh, it never stops. West Coast dream, we riding high. Stars align in the sky. Can you feel that light? My fam right here by my side. They hold me down on my own, but I still shine. I still shine on my own. Talk to me, just doing fine, just doing fine. Yeah, so fine. Living life in my rear view. Living life in my rear view. Living life in my rear view. Blow a bag for the pain, I can't feel you. Black hearts and red eyes and stay true. 6 in the morning, early hustle, gotta pay dues. Yeah, yeah. I'm grinding day and night. Yeah, yeah. Got that music on my mind. Ooh, it never stops. West Coast tree, riding high. Stars align in the sky. Living life in my rear view. Living life in my rear view.
This ain't a story you just sit back and listen to. This is memory stitched to melody, pain threaded through a pulse. I didn't choose this path. I woke up in it. They tried to remix my mind, overwrite the soul with silence. But you can't mute what was made to echo. So if you hear my voice now, you're not just tuned in. You're entering a frequency. Welcome to the madness.
There is no off, there is no before, only forward into the unknown. Sweatshop. Recordings.
Welcome back.
And we're
Welcome back, y'all.
Thanks, Sam.
The single's out now on my own, Sweatshop Recording, Spotify, platforms, DSPs everywhere. Go check it out. Now we're back with the doc, y'all. We want to get into moving forward with you here. Just going into some reflections and advice moving forward, so that way we always like to give the youngsters something to look forward to. Drop some. What you've done this whole interview, you've been dropping a lot of philosophies, but with the short attention span, sometimes it gets missed. So we always like to leave a little section at the end that we can give, and anything that you would like to advise. Any reflections, tough challenges in the medicine field for anybody who may not know, advice to younger people, things of that nature. So the floor is yours, Doc. Go right ahead.
Yeah. All right. Sure. I did mention that a few things. One's my philosophy of following the path of least regret has really given me the courage to do things that aren't going to be necessarily easy. They may not come to fruition and work out, but if you follow your passion, you do things that in the end you're not going to regret at least trying to do. Try to make your dreams come true, follow your passion, and if you do those things, you can't go wrong. Even if it doesn't work out, hey, you gave it your best, you tried. Anything that you feel is worthwhile to pursue, give it more than one chance. Don't fail once and give up. If it's something that you're passionate about, it's something you believe in, it's going to be worth your time and your effort one way or another. If it works out, fantastic. If it doesn't work out, at least you gave it the best try, and you can feel good about trying and giving your best. And there's some forces in the world that might not make that happen. It may not be the right timing or whatever, but you'll still feel good about yourself and trying. So you can't go wrong with that. So that's a motivating thing.
Yeah.
Other driving,
nothing beats a fail but a try, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Michael Jordan. Well, one thing I remember a quote from Michael Jordan who said one of the reasons why he's so successful is because he's failed so much.
So many times, right?
Yeah.
As long as we can
learning lesson,
right? As long as we can learn from it, I think it's always, it's a thing like walking. Just to learn to walk. You're gonna fall. And we look at the resilience of a child, right? They get right back up. It could be concrete, it could be tile. It doesn't matter if it's a soft carpet or not. They're gonna get back up and attempt to take that step again. And I kind of use that as an analogy to my own kids, and everything that you're saying and alluding to go ahead and use that as wow, man, if you have a vision and you're going for that, you're gonna left, right. Sometimes you got to move laterally to make that vision accomplished. And one of the things that I wanted to accentuate that you have said is because you've had careers that were, in most people's eyes, would be that's what they shoot for. And you've changed those careers. And that shows to prove that success and where you want to be in life doesn't always means in a monetary, that's the figure to chase. Because you said they've came back and people offered you more to do things, and you still stayed on a path that you wanted to move forward because you had a vision of where you wanted to be. So I think it's important to visualize and then implement.
Yep, you got it. Absolutely. Yeah. And then on a personal, person-to-person kind of basis, I think the most important thing in relating to other people is really kindness.
Yes.
Kindness. I cannot underestimate that. No matter who's in front of you, what the situation is, kindness.
Yes.
That's
something we harp on this show. We harp on this show. Be nice to people. Be kind.
As a doctor, I see a whole spectrum of people and a whole spectrum of behaviors in the office, and I've had several conversations with staff members addressing them, and it can be a challenge sometimes because some people are kind of harder to challenging to manage and handle. But I always tell them that underneath anybody's anger or difficulties, there's something underneath there that's driving that. And if you scratch a little bit under the surface, you'll see that. If I have a patient and I walk in the room and their arms are crossed and they have an angry look on their face and they say, I've been waiting for you, doc, for over an hour, and they're pissed off about it, I'll say, I'm really sorry about that. Sure, it's not intentional. There are good reasons for that, but I know that for you, this has been a long wait, and I can see that you're upset about this. And usually they'll diffuse it. If it doesn't, then I'll take a step back, and instead of being the ophthalmologist, I'll take a step back and say, I see. Is there something else going on that's causing you to be upset? And and then just that little opening will get people say, yeah, and and they'll. My son just killed himself 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
Just intense, like some painful, suffering situation will come out, and you're like, yeah. So this is what is driving the behavior of these people.
Sure.
We all, I think, all of us have the same emotions. The difference is now in the spectrum is how we process and handle those emotions, how we express them in our behavior. That's really the thing that makes all of us different. But we're all have this common emotions. Every human being has the same emotions. It's just kind of how we tolerate those, how we express them, how it comes out in our behavior. That's what's different among all of us, but we all have the same feelings. And so understanding that, I hope for myself and my staff members and for anyone else that we have that empathy to see through their behavior a bit and understand that this is coming from some emotion, and usually it's pain and suffering that's driving these negative kind of behaviors.
Well said.
And sometimes people just need to talk about it, and just talking about it can diffuses the situation. Like, oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that, and then we'll have a little discussion about that. Yeah. And then they'll be fine. Like, all right, well, let's get back to the eye care part. And, and then they're like, all right, let's do that. And, it's diffuse the situation. They had a chance to kind of air it. They feel better. That tension's gone. And it's just kind of reaching out and touching some, what's the underlying driving factor for this person's behavior, and relating to them as a human being, and being open to relating and being kind about it.
Definitely. Yeah. That's powerful. Yeah, communication is very powerful.
Communication is key.
In all aspects, man. No matter what we do, the more we can communicate and let the other person know what we're dealing with, because like I said, we end our show on an act of kindness a lot of the times. And that's what we allude to, is we never know what that other person is going through. So to react to sometimes it just as it's natural, but it's not always the best thing. And sometimes it's like you said, step back and assess it and come back with a dialogue that maybe they can open up to and explain a little bit more. So that helps a lot. And I always try to engage that into my life as well. I'm a work in progress, but it's definitely something that I look at and try to implement so that those around me can see it as well. So definitely words well spoken.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah. And that kind of works its way into my approach to patient care. I feel like, and colleagues and patients are frequently expressed to me how they admire my so-called bedside manner. And, I really just take a pretty simple approach to it. It's, it's really just listening. I can't tell you how many times I've been so thankful that I've listened to what my patient's telling me, because I'll capture things that they'll say that no other provider has really heard from them, or at least digested and really taken into consideration, and make diagnoses of things that nobody else has, because they just haven't really paid the attention to what they're telling him and processed it. So I really try to listen to what the patient's telling me, acknowledge what they're telling me, and make sure that I address what they're telling me. And I try to be as comprehensive as possible. They might throw about half dozen things out there that may not all be related, but I'll kind of just try to parse them out and break them down and address each point that they've brought up, listen to the details of what they're saying, and then really importantly, following up. So process it, tell them what I'm thinking. This is what I think's going on. Here's what we're going to do. And then let's follow up on this and see if this is working out or not. that follow-up is very important too. Otherwise, you're kind of leaving people out there twisting in the wind, and you get them a little direction, but you're not following through and making sure that it's all resolved. And then the other approach I learned from what I really admire about good restaurants. And growing up, there was this restaurant in Vacaville called the Nut Tree. And that was always a big treat to go to the Nut Tree. Special occasions.
Of course.
Loved it.
I know all about the Nut Tree Plaza.
Yeah, man. It's so disappointing that they closed. Man, I'm so bummed about that.
Yeah.
But so I figured out the thing that made the Nut Tree so special was that you always knew what you're going to get when you got there. It's always the same. It's always this great experience. The food is always the exact same. You got the same bread that would come out, the little pineapple slices with the marshmallow sauce, the sundae with the hot fudge in a separate container that you pour on it and stuff. You always knew exactly what you're going to get and loved it every time. So that consistency in what you're providing as a service for people, day in, day out, every single patient, again, no matter how their demeanor is, how they're coming in, hot like a poker or really kind, treat them all consistently and equally. I'm going to treat the CEO comes in the suit the same way I treat a homeless guy off the street. I can give them the same respect, the same time, the same attention, same quality of service, no matter who's in front of me. That consistency and equality is, I think, very important from a human standpoint, one-on-one.
Wow. There's so much impact into this episode. I mean, we got empathy, we got listening techniques, because they talk all they want to. But if you're waiting to just interject, if you're waiting just for your response, you're not listening to what they're saying. And you said that was a big thing in your bedside care. You're listening to your patients, so that gives you a how you're going to move or what's ailing, right? So if you didn't pay attention, you just say, hey, I'm going to go with my checklist. Okay, yeah, you're done. All right, now let me go about, you're going to miss those things. So that's in everything that we do, man. We got to learn to be active listeners. So I like to pull these little things out because it's very important. And those are tools that we're not really taught. We're just expected to
You don't learn that in school.
Yeah, you don't learn it. It's, you're expected to already just pick it up and put that as part of your tool belt and resources that you have. But it's not just like speaking and communicating, right? It's something that you have to work at. Listening, you have to work at. These are things that don't just, well, some people have a natural ability, but to keen it, to perfect it and really use it and be advantageous to what you do is definitely something that we all have to work on. So thanks again for that.
My pleasure. Yeah. We do have to be told these things. You're right. We don't get these things naturally. It's not a natural thing, really.
Right.
We tend to be very egocentric and kind of inward looking and self-serving. And those are breaking out of that. It takes someone to kind of tell you about that.
Sure.
I have so many mentors who have rubbed off so much on me. And even back in medical school, I had this professor, her name is Alexandra Levine, and she spoke to the power of hope and related the story of when she was a medical student and was on a surgery rotation at LA County General Hospital, which partnered with USC, and that's where we did a lot of our training. And it was on a rotation there, had a patient, non-English speaking, Spanish speaking, came in for surgery. They went in the surgery, they opened his abdomen, and it's just full of cancer everywhere. And it was inoperable, so they just kind of closed. And when they came to talk to the patient afterwards with the surgeon and the team, and she was a medical student at the time, there's some communication issues because they didn't have a translator at that time, this back in the day. And she said they just kind of just gesticulated that we opened your abdomen, tumors everywhere, bad, close, done. And so that patient was like devastated, like, so nothing to do? No. And like within a few days died. And she said that she learned in that experience that, you gotta give people some modicum of some kind of hope somehow. All right, there was tumors everywhere. We couldn't operate, so we had to close, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to start
Right.
this chemotherapy and radiation and do these other things to try to extend your life as long as possible and try to make it as best a quality life as you can have for the rest of what you got. But none of that was communicated. This person lost all his hope. And when you lose your hope, you're hopeless.
Yeah.
When you're hopeless, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer and die. You know, there's no reason to go on at that point if you have no hope. So no matter what the situation, we can always find some way of adding some kind of hope. Like I have patients who are blind from macular degeneration or strokes of the nerve, glaucoma and things. And I'll say, well, you know, there's this stem cell research going on that's really promising. And someday we're going to be able to regrow these tissues that are dead and can't function anymore. We're going to someday be able to regrow these things. There's that very real possibility. They're working on it. You never know when it's going to come out around the corner. It could be some years down the line. We don't know when this is going to happen. So hang in there, and you know, you just never know.
Right.
True. Very true.
That's true. Hope is huge, man. Especially if you go to any war-driven country, hope is pretty much all that they really can.
That's all they relying on.
Right, just to get out of it. The hope to get another opportunity going somewhere else without all of the factors that are going on. So definitely, man, that is a very important thing that I think goes on. Another thing that we don't get taught or discuss much about is just hope. Like you said, something to look forward to, especially in the medical field. I mean, you walk into a hospital, a clinic, any type of those type of environments, there's already an atmosphere, right? So that atmosphere is pretty much set. So it's really left up to the staff. It's left up to the people that are there to, bring that up a little bit, especially like if you go to a CHOC, right? Like a children's hospital. You definitely want to have hope and set a better, higher energy in those places, because these are little kids, and you want to definitely have them to look forward to a future, right? So definitely hope, man. That is big, and that's one of the things that I think we're going to be adding more to our end of our shows is, let's put a lot more power into the power of hope. That's good. That's
true that. So we're gonna spin this a little bit, Doc, and we got this rapid fire round we're gonna throw at you, right? So
all right.
It's gonna be the first thing that comes to mind. You don't have to overthink it, and so we're gonna start. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Sound like both of us. All three of us.
For sure.
Favorite spot in Humboldt County to just relax besides your amazing place? For y'all that don't know, I did over, and the dude has an amazing home. So
yeah, that's got to be the beach with my dog Luna.
Okay. And Luna's the homegirl. She liked me.
Yeah.
She liked that left coast brisket. She was digging it.
Right. Oh yeah. That's awesome. For sure.
Like, first car you ever owned?
Oh, it's a hand-me-down from my brother, because he got a car when he was in high school, and I got a computer, so I didn't get a car. But his was a Volkswagen Scirocco. When he went off to college, he left that for me, so that was my first car.
Okay.
Love that thing.
What song gets you hyped before a big day?
Ooh, wow. You know what I like to play at the end of a surgery day? The Rolling Stones, Bitch.
That's what's
that
up.
gets you going. The horn section, man. The horn section. Like,
the horn section.
Yeah.
Old.
Nice.
Let's see. God, that's a tough one though, because I have such a wide musical taste. As you know, Ice Cube is one of my favorite rappers too. You got a lot of those songs. I love Tupac. Yeah, my musical taste is all over the place, so it's hard to really pin it down though.
One food you could eat every single day.
Man, well, it's probably gonna be Mexican.
Choice, nice choice. All right. This one's gonna be a quick. I'm anxious to see this one. Glasses or contacts? What's your personal go-to?
Personal glasses.
Okay. If you weren't a doctor,
Protection.
right there you go. If you weren't a doctor, where would you think you'd be in right now?
You know what my fallback was? I was going to open a taco stand in Santorini.
Yes. Right here,
Because,
baby.
man, Greece doesn't have any Mexican food, man. They got gyros all over the place, but you can't find a taco for life again in Greece. That's when I was there.
Right.
Yeah, I can make some good ass tacos over here, and they'll be the only one serving tacos.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That was my second choice. That was my fallback
Corner
plan.
the market.
Nice.
Yeah, right.
All right. Favorite piece of technology or gadget that you can't live without?
Oh, God. Well, clearly these days it's your cell phone, because that's those things with the apps or navigation, and I just cell phone, I guess.
All right. Here's a tough one for you. Your favorite Northern California sports team?
Oh, all right. I guess that would be the Lakers.
Okay. We'll take that. Ooh, I'm a Clipper fan. What book?
We are opposing. He's a Clippers fan.
Yeah,
So,
Clipper fan. So we butt heads all the time.
Yeah, we
but
butt
it's
heads on
always
the regular.
fun.
Yeah.
He's Dodgers. I'm Angels. I mean, it's like every contrast.
Yeah. So that's professional. I went to USC, so USC is my favorite team overall.
Nice.
Okay.
Love it. I'm there with you. What book changed your perspective the most? I see you got a ton of books back there, Doc.
Oh, wow. Changed my perspective the most. Boy, that's a good one. I can tell you one that affirmed some of my perspectives that I had that I shared about kindness. Was a very small book put out by George Saunders. That was kind of born out of a commencement address that he gave. And it was about relating to other people and the importance of kindness. And we're coming back to that part. Yeah.
Nice.
That comes to my mind. I'm sure I'm missing some others that are probably a better answer, but I'm having difficulty coming up with
That's
that
just
right
a rapid fire. It comes first, right? I got one last one, then I'm gonna hand it over to D. What's on your bucket list for 2025?
I've kind of put off a lot of travel, and so on my bucket list, I've got a long list of places that I want to visit. So it's traveling.
You got one that's in mind right now. If I can buy you a ticket, where would it be right now?
Yeah, there's this island, and it's off in New Zealand that I have a patient who lives there like about 3 months out of the year. And I'm trying to think of that island. It starts with the T. Here, I'm gonna look that up super quick. Travel bucket list. Yeah, and it is. Oh, nice.
That's the homeland that I've never been to. That's where my people from. So my dad, that's
sweet, man.
Believe, so, yeah,
what's the name of that island?
Aitutaki. It's in the Cook Islands.
Okay.
Aitutaki. That looks amazing. Yeah. And I've always wanted to swim with whale sharks too in Mexico. So one of those two things.
I'll be on the land waiting for you to get back.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. My dad used to do that stuff, scuba diving with sharks. And
yeah, my brother and I got friends, they do diving and all that kind of stuff, man, deep sea. And I'm like, I'll just stay right over here. With my pina colada.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah. So, what's one myth about eye health you wish people would finally stop believing?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of those. Some of the most common ones is that is damaging to your eyes to focus really up close when we're kids. It's not really damaging. They just have the ability to do that because their lens is so so flexible that they can focus 2 inches from their face and be very happy with that. Uh, Current research, though, has shown that if you are always focusing up close, then it can drive nearsightedness. And so there's an epidemic of nearsightedness going on, especially in like China, because those kids are constantly just looking like a foot from their face. I've seen pictures of how their government is trying to deal with that. And I've seen pictures of like these bars at their desks at school that prevent them from leaning over into their screens too closely and things. But in general, it's not damaging otherwise to look at something that close. That's a good myth. Another myth is that it's damaging to read in the dark. There's no harmful effect of that. It's just more difficult because we don't get as much light. That's all. It's not damaging.
Good to know.
Another common one is reading problems or because of their eyes. That's overwhelmingly the most common reason for problems in kids with reading is dyslexia. And dyslexia really has nothing to do with their eyes. It has to do with their brain processing.
Sure, I know. So, I've never been diagnosed, but I know. Because I'm left-handed, right? I'm always in my right mind. So sometimes I look at this. Nothing I can do about it. Like, hold on, I didn't mean it that way.
That's good.
So, dress shoes or sneakers?
Well, let's see. Feel good at dress shoes, but it can't beat the comfort of sneakers.
Okay.
And actually slides. Or slides every day.
There you go. Definitely.
Favorite thing about living in your area in Humboldt County?
It's a quality of life, man. You mentioned it before. Is the clean air, the outdoors, the beauty of this area. We don't have the traffic. It's a good quality of life.
Yeah, D misses the traffic down here, right, D? And you guys,
no, I don't,
you guys don't miss it out here?
No, and I will be posting videos of the traffic out there, and then take me. Yeah, there's no reason to be 9 minutes away from something, but it takes you 30. Just for no reason.
Those weren't any sports event days. Don't
nope.
Oh my goodness! Time, man. It's grim.
Yeah, you might as well just watch it at home. You might as well just stay home on those days.
Get a room.
Yep. And you can always find a parking space.
That's true out here. Yeah. And here's a question we love. It's not a rapid fire, but it's something we always like to ask. What's in your playlist?
Oh yeah, well I kind of alluded to that, man. It's huge. It is. I always
can you think of maybe the last 5 songs you listened to on your playlist? Or you could pull it up.
Yeah, I've been on a little bit of Tom Waits kick lately. Yeah, but I have I did this project. So I was down in I was on a trip with my daughter looking for places to live when she was going off to college. And I said, all right, I'm going to take this opportunity. Got a couple of days. I'm going to finally create my ultimate playlist. And I spent a weekend going from decade to decade, starting in the 60s all the way up to current times and picking what I felt was the best songs I liked, as well as some of the most influential songs of those time periods. And just produce this huge playlist it's gotten a bit of a reputation, like, because I always played in the OR now, and the nurses are always like, man, you got the best playlist, why don't you get me on there? And it's become a little bit of a legend wherever I operate. They're like, this talk's got the best music. So it's all over the place. It goes from the Beatles to classic rock to rap and hip hop, and it's just I just put it on shuffle, and it bounces all around. I love it all. Really
Awesome.
Yeah.
He had a very unique playlist at the last function. Somebody walks up to me and is like, "Hey, is that yours?" I'm like, "No. Why would you even assume that that's mine?" But I was like, "No, it's not. I said, it's not even my house, man. Well, I look like tapping into somebody's music and just playing my playlist, right? Like, who does that?" I said, "Nah."
I'll let you do that, D. You're welcome to do that, man.
I can put you on to some of this guy's music right here.
Right.
Put you on.
Definitely, man. It's been a pleasure having you on Things of That Nature. We're gonna have to have you bring you back, because I'm sure we could tap into more stories. Not only that, D invited me to your house, so we're gonna be coming up to you.
Right on. You're very welcome. Yeah, we have to have it.
I didn't know about it.
That'd be fine.
This is
That
the
sounds
one
like
who
a good
said,
plan, man.
this is the man that asked about the video. So yeah.
Yes. When he had called, text me, because I was doing a live that night, and he was supposed to be on with me. But I guess, some things in the event, and I was like, don't worry about it, I got it. So he was just texting me and pictures and people that was playing some instruments at the house. And I was like, bro, you need to tap in and we need to come do a video over there. And he was like, I'll bring it to him. And next thing you know, now you're on the show. So live, y'all, I'm gonna put him on the spot. He ain't got to answer me, but live, I'm putting him on the spot. We coming to do a video.
All right, man. That sounds like fun. Yeah, we'll have a good party.
And D's gonna chaperone with the meals. Yeah, he's gonna be feeding everybody, so it's gonna be lovely. Lovely, good times, good people. But no, definitely, Doc, thank you. I'm much appreciative, man. All the hard work that you're putting in, keep doing it. We need more people like you. Keep rubbing those elbows. You have a beautiful personality. Keep spreading that around to other people, because that's what we need more of in this day and age. It's a lot of daunting stuff, man, and we need something to look up to, some positive, some great energy. And you're one of the individuals that come across this platform. And I always encourage those that when we see it, go out there and spread it, man. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy.
Yeah, man. I hear you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it very much, you guys.
Yep.
Sure.
And
don't go nowhere, y'all, because we're gonna wrap this up, but we're gonna be right back, and all at the same time. Pay no attention to how I'm dyslexic. Remember that. I put the words, they just go in together.
All right.
So, hey,
well, thank you so much again.
Hey, thank you. We really appreciate this. This has been great, man. This has been great.
Has been.
Likewise, and right back at you.
Right on. And until next time, y'all, I'm Thing Uno. That's Thing Dose.
All right, man.
Left Coast King, Sweatshop, DMP. You ain't heard, you better listen. Tap in On My Own. His single is out now. It's dope. AI's going mad. Remember that.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Things of that nature. Things of that nature.